Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Paola.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored and so grateful.
I would like to say, besides just welcome, all of this really intrigues me. Those pillars, I could take each one and say, this is what I teach, except for one, which is going to have to be explained to me that I haven't seen before. And I always like to hear new information that sounds intriguing. So I'm going to turn you loose, and would you explain the cardinal method, also some of the experiences you've had and all like that for us?
Thank you so much. Yes, I would love to. In a nutshell, it's not that easy, but the Carroll method is very complex in its theoretical aspect. As you have mentioned, it's multicultural. It has 4 very beautiful and powerful, deep pillars. But the practices that we use are very simple and very fast, and they have amazing results. So the 4 pillars of the Carroll method are all about soul healing, consciousness expansion, and the joy of life. So that's the ultimate result you get from that. And the reason why the joy of life is simple and practical is because it is all about being your true self. And the easiest way to find that path is connecting with nature. So that's the Native American wisdom. That's the indigenous wisdom that we're familiar with, right? But to get to the joy of life, we need consciousness and awareness. And I keep saying that as human beings, we cannot escape matter, we cannot escape energy, but consciousness is an option. So the joy of life, the fulfillment of life, in my opinion, includes consciousness, awareness, and spiritual evolution or spiritual expansion. So we need that.
Absolutely.
But that cannot happen if we don't heal our souls. And that tends to be the most difficult part of the whole journey, because some people think they can be spiritual avoiding emotional healing, because it is painful to face your turmoils, right? Your emotional world. But soul healing is so necessary. It is the foundation for genuine consciousness expansion, because we cannot call ourselves spiritual if we have not healed our souls and our family connections. Then from consciousness expansion, we can really feel the joy of life, and it will be complete. It will not be escapism into spiritual realities if the wound is open. So that's why family constellations are included in the Carroll method. And they were the last pillar to be included in the method. As you mentioned, I started working with the Carroll method when I was 14 years old. That was 26 years ago. And between the ages 14 and 16, I was feeling very anxious because the rational mind could not answer my questions, my existential questions. So I needed to turn to spirituality, but I did not want a spirituality that brought me escapism, that was, denying matter, denying present moment reality. I needed something that brought me synthesis. So I went into a powerful journey on my own. I never thought that I would later in my life bring this to other people, but I dove deep into philosophy, Western philosophy, and I did get a lot of answers from our Western culture on a rational aspect. So it's important for us to sharpen our brain power and to understand the world intellectually. That is necessary, but in my opinion, it's not enough. We need to also face our emotions. And I did really dive deep into my emotions and my emotional turmoils with other modalities, and nature helped me immensely. Indigenous wisdom, being in touch with nature, being out in the rain can be so healing. Holding a crystal can be so healing. Being with the plant world, animals are so powerful soul healers for us humans, right? That's all in the individual level. I also dove deep into yoga and the Hindu chakra system. That was amazing individual healing. But the last pillar that came to me and that consolidated the Carroll method as a system was when I dove into collective healing, which is family constellations. So I wasn't aware of what it was until I was in my late 20s and early 30s, and I didn't look for it. It found me. I was researching indigenous wisdom for my PhD thesis, and blood connections and how nations were created. 9 million Incas were part of the same family. They all had the blood of the Sapa Inca, which was the emperor at the time. So I was researching blood connections, and family constellations kept coming in my Google searches. And I was like, what on earth is that? I have no idea what that is, right? I was in Europe at the time researching, and when I went back to Brazil, I was in my parents' home, and a book fell off the shelf in my mother's library, and it was covered. I couldn't see the title. When I opened the book, it was written Family Constellation.
Wow.
So I was blown away. And that book had been there for 15 years.
Wow.
My mom was reading about it in secret because my father is very skeptical. He's a medical doctor, always called himself an atheist until he had a breakthrough, and now he's more open to spirituality. But I started reading that book, and I read it overnight, and I felt like I was going through the meat grinder because it was so powerful and deep, and it really encourages you to face your family wounds. And we are not just individual beings, we are collective beings. And whatever has happened to an ancestor that is still an open wound in the family system is transmitted through the DNA. And in the fourth generation or third, that little baby connects or identifies with that pain and may be repeating the life script of an ancestor without knowing that. So I had to test that on myself, and I did go through a lot of constellation training. I avoided it in the beginning, so I understand why people don't want to face their emotional pain, but there's nothing more liberating and more truthful to allow you to be a complete human being, to know yourself fully, until you include your family system, understand your family history, so the past can be at peace and you can move forward into the future, living the present moment with your own identity. So though family constellations are all about going back into the past and releasing past pain, it's about literally releasing it so the present moment can be pure and so that the future can come into our lives.
I have a very esoteric question.
Great. I love it.
And I'm not sure even how to pose this. We don't rehearse this, so, I'm free to ask stupid questions.
Absolutely you are.
This ancestral healing this is the first time I've really heard it explained like this. I get excited because you've said DNA and you've said these things and it carries through this. Let me ask you this, again, an esoteric question. If somebody actually is able to bring this to peace within themselves and dissolve it, does that then carry, is it dismissed then from their children and all? Is that the end of the line, or does it continue to carry?
Absolutely, 100% yes. Because in the family constellation healing, I like to use images to make it easier for us to understand. So it's like the family soul is an ocean, and every family member is an iceberg floating on that ocean. When people pass away, like your great-grandfather, they melt into that ocean. Everybody shares the same water, but the individuals are different icebergs. But if there's an oil spill in that ocean, the little icebergs are going to get affected, right?
Yes.
So when one person goes into a constellation field and releases that pain, it's like clearing away the oil spill so everybody benefits. And I cannot describe to you how many results I have seen, not only with my family. It's been about 11 years that I've been doing constellation work consistently, but the people that I help and everybody that I witness that really embraces this work, it ripple effects with their family members, with the new generations. It really, people don't even have to be aware that you have done a constellation process. They will benefit regardless because it works on a deep unconscious level. So the individual mind does not have to know because everybody shares that same foundation, the collective soul, as Bert Hellinger called it. And this is actually a Zulu modality. It comes from Africa.
Wow.
The person who developed family constellation work used to be a priest in a Catholic church, and he lived in South Africa for about 16 years, and he learned a lot from the Zulu. So he went there to teach them theoretically about Western thought and Christianity, but he said, well, I'm learning much more from them. And now I understand that as Westerners, we are wrong to think we are individuals. We are much more collective than we think. We first belong to a family soul and a cultural soul, and then we have an individual identity. And once we start developing consciousness, we become reconnected to all of humanity, to all of life. That's why it's the cardinal method of life connection. And we transcend our human experience only after we have organized our connections with our families and we have understood who we are as individuals. So that's why the cardinal method has 4 pillars, because each pillar addresses one aspect of our existence.
I love it. I love this a lot. And I've heard about the family constellation work as well, and there's even been someone who has developed family constellation where instead of having other people come in and represent the family members, they're doing it with horses.
Oh, wow.
And the horses come in and they reveal more to a person that, because facing family, let's face it, it can be confrontational.
Yeah.
And then when you have the horses, it reduces a bit of that element of the confrontation and allows them to step outside of themselves. But here, you are taking this work even, I guess, one step further by incorporating it with the 3 other pillars. And I can only think that this was kind of downloaded to you, or you've kind of channeled this work. And it seems to me like the results are being profound. Can you share some of those results with us? We'd love to hear.
I would love to, and you're absolutely right. First of all, the cardinal method constellations include crystals. So if it's a group of people, everybody holds a stone, because crystals have internal geometry that align consciousness with the higher light, and they have colors that heal the soul. Just by being there in the field, the forces of nature that are present in crystals make the work, I would say, if I had to quantify this, but I need more research, I need more people testing this to confirm it's just an intuition, but it makes things 10 times lighter emotionally, so it's not as dramatic. Things are 10 times faster with crystal energy, so it gives a boost to the prior modalities that the cardinal method is inspired in. And yes, you are right about the download. I think I was being prepared since my teenage days, right?
Yes.
It started when I was 14 years old. My mind was being prepared to receive the cardinal method. And on December 11th of 2010, I received a download. I was being trained as a family constellation a family constellation practitioner. And we were in the training and I received the download. And a lot of indigenous wisdom was coming through saying, you need to align this with the traditional constellation method. So I spoke to my 2 instructors, and I had just recently defended my PhD thesis. So I said, now there's a method here that I need to show you to validate this, because I don't want to think that I'm creating things out of the blue. And they said, okay. So we were there for 3 hours. I showed them everything that was being downloaded to me literally.
Wow.
And they said, this is a system that you need to develop. You have our blessing. You're going beyond constellation. Just go develop that. And I got the chills just seeing this.
Chills of
right?
validation.
Yeah.
Yes. That was in December of 2010, which the young aspect, the masculine aspect of the cardinal method, which are crystals, animal power, and music, came to me that date. When I went back to Brazil in December of last year, 9 years later, I had no idea I would get another download. The feminine aspect with plants, ascended masters, which are the heart chakra. So this is also related to the chakras, right? The crystals with the first chakra, the root chakra, the plants with the sacral chakra, the animals on the solar plexus, the ascended masters in the heart, the music with the throat, light and color in the third eye, and the abundance of life, which is life connection, is the crown chakra. So the second pillar of the second half of the cardinal method, the divine feminine, the sacred feminine vibration, came last year in December in Brazil. It always happens in Brasilia, which is my hometown, which is the center of the country. I don't know if people know this, but in the middle of Brazil, there is a huge quartz crystal shield below the earth.
Amazing.
And that is where the 2 downloads have come to me.
That makes total sense.
Absolutely. I was getting chills up my arms as well. I don't know if I'm going to just share it. Kryon has actually given channels about Brazil, and that this area, they have a group of people that are wanting to kind of create a new model for South America, which is aligned with the model of the European Union, where you come together as a trading bloc and everything else. And when we were in Brazil and Kryon was channeling, we would really connect in with that crystalline energy of the earth that is there. So, and that is in the southern hemisphere. It's all linked to the prophecy of the eagle and the condor, where you have the southern hemisphere is the feminine, the mother energy, and everything you said was just giving me chills with you.
I'm interested in, when did you get the download on the Divine Feminine?
It was December 19th, 2019.
All right. This is, we're into that. This is part of the prophecy of the eagle and the condor, and that is that the Divine Feminine is going to be more realized and accepted in the Northern Hemisphere. I just love it that you originated in the love hemisphere, that you have originated in the feminine hemisphere and are bringing all this knowledge to us here now. It's all related. It's one of the reasons you're on the program, of course.
I'm so grateful.
Yeah, I want to know, because you originated in a very religious country, how did that work right in the middle of Brasilia, or did it affect you, or were you trained in?
It did affect me. It's actually a pretty funny story. My parents are not religious at all. My mother came from a very religious Catholic family.
All right.
And the Brazilian families are very close-knit. And my grandmother and great-grandmother on the maternal side were extremely religious. And when I was born and my brother was born a year later, my parents said, we want them to choose their spiritual faith. We're not going to baptize them in the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was 7, all I could think of was Jesus. He was like, I was so obsessed. Between 7 and 11, all I wanted to do was to be with Jesus Christ. And I told my parents, I need to learn more about his life.
Right.
So I would ask my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and I said, I need to get baptized to feel what he felt. I need to know what his energy is. And I need to get baptized the way he did. So my parents had a swimming pool. And I said, please let me bless the house. Please let me bring the here so that I can be baptized like Jesus.
Was Jesus baptized in a swimming pool? Did I get this wrong?
Though Brazil is very religious, my parents were not. And they thought it was they thought my grandmother was brainwashing me. But now I know they understand it's a different story.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was interrupting with stupid stuff.
Doing a bad joke.
I was saying, was Jesus baptized in a swimming pool? And I'm sorry to interrupt. I love the story. So this is great. It's not a bad role model to be obsessed with when you're when you're little. That's a great story.
And you know, I look at your story, and all of it is in preparation for exactly what's happening on the planet now. We need this work, and you got the download 2010, and now Kryon talks about passing the marker. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, 2012 was a marker in time that collectively we were either going to go the path of consciousness and love and self-realization, or down the path of destruction. And so here we are in 2020, where the work that you began, you've now received the download last year on the feminine complete.
Yeah.
So this is something that is going to help a lot of people, and the timing is just so spot on. And again, I'm excited because we have a young female that is leading the way in giving these new tools to the planet.
I'm so grateful. And just so you know, the Carroll method master animal is the harpy. It's a South American, Central American eagle. So just wanted to share that.
Oh,
Thank
beautiful.
you. I love that.
Beautiful.
There.
And how is and back to that comment about a young woman. Now, years ago, it was very difficult to begin doing things like this and presenting it to the community. How are you getting your responses?
Yeah.
Because you are a young woman and you have this new kind of work. How is that? Share a bit about your journey in that.
Well, it's actually beyond my control. Actually, it was effortless. I've been a university professor for a while, right? I started my academic career when I was 21, when I started teaching. And I knew I needed to develop my rational mind so that I could speak my spiritual truths and be respected in the world. I knew that I needed a PhD so that people would respect the spiritual truths that I needed to bring to the world when the time was right. And when when I became a university professor, I was already developing the Carnal method as a parallel activity because I wanted to bring the theory of family constellations into the academic world of moral philosophy, most importantly, and the values of different cultures. So I was giving it a scientific academic vibration, which people respected. But my husband got a job in Florida, and I said, okay, let's go, because the best libraries in the world are in the US for what I need to research about indigenous wisdom. And I wanted to replicate my PhD thesis with different nations. So I started working with with indigenous from South America, the Incas, the Tupinambás in Brazil. And I wanted to see how the North American Indians and the Central American Indians, they behaved regarding the soul and everything. So that's a technical story that is not really the point here. But once I got to Florida, I have always connected with my spiritual life, and I had been receiving energy healing sessions in Brazil. I had my Reiki certification, magnified healing. And in the US, I was embraced by the spiritual community of Florida. So I knew in my heart it was another breakthrough when I was taking a course of energy healing to treat myself with energy techniques. I just heard there's like no doubt about this. And I said, I know I have to be doing this right now. And my academic research can wait. I'll go back to that when I'm 70. I cannot be in university libraries anymore. I need to create a center and bring this to people. I need to be with hands-on healing now and bring the Carnal method to more people. So things happened really fast. I was very supported by the spiritual community of South Florida. I became certified in the US so that I could deliver this work to more people. I opened my healing center in less than a year.
Wow.
And it's been there for 5 years. And I know it's not my individual energy. I know that I'm just kind of a guardian to higher, there's a whole myriad of spiritual energy that is bringing that space to the world, that is supporting this work, that brings the people in online or physically before the pandemic, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And I know it's orchestrated by much higher realms, and I am just one little piece of the puzzle in the story.
I love that, and I love that you're part of the puzzle.
We've
Yes.
got We've got about 5 minutes left. Time goes quickly when you're having fun. Regarding current events, COVID, the whole routine, and all, how does that cardinal method apply or not apply to this specific energies we're in right now?
I love that you asked that, because the Carroll method literally ultimately is about the joy of life, right? That's the result we want. That's the state of being. That's our natural state of being. That's what we're designed to be as nature and source and God, or whatever you want to call it. That's the intention of our life. The purpose of our lives is, in my opinion, consciousness expansion and the joy of life. So when the pandemic hit and fear was the predominant energy, I knew in my heart that I needed to just encourage the joy of life and bring tools to people that really turned fear into safety and that shifted their focus to the crown chakra, really, to spiritual awakening. And once you're connected to the higher light, there is no fear. You know you're guarded, you know you're protected. So the Carnal method has brought online constellations for free as emotional support to people. And it's so incredible because I don't control any of this, right?
Okay.
I am, as I said, a piece of the puzzle. I just follow higher instructions. And every time we hold free online constellations in English and Portuguese, we've been doing this once a month, people tap into the joy of life. They're holding crystals. They are so optimistic about it. They understand that we are purging our fear. They understand that this is a spiritual awakening and that this is not evil, that those who really are willing to connect to unconditional love and to the joy of life are going to be supported, and that their lives are going to be incredibly powerful once they awaken to the crown chakra. So I do say this, corona is the crown chakra. It's an awakening moment. And we do have the choice to either step into fear and play small and become victims, or to really step into who we are, connect to our higher selves, and know that life is much larger than death or fear. So I am all about empowering people. I don't like to see people being dependent on others, delegating their decisions. I don't like the idea of gurus that make decisions for others. I like the idea of enlightened leadership, and everyone can be their own leader and live life in their own terms. But that's only going to make sense if you awaken to spirituality.
True.
Otherwise, it's not going to be enough. You are always going to have an existential crisis. You can be the most powerful academic, and your intellectual mind can be so sharp. But if there's no spirituality, you're not going to be as happy as you could be.
We need the heart. We need the love.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Paula, this is great. This is so good. I'm sorry that we don't have more time for you because there's a lot more things I want to know. The information is on our page. If people want to contact you, get a hold of you through the sources that you've supplied. And I really, really appreciate. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Thank you, Paula. Blessings.
Thank you so much. I'm honored, grateful, and I really love your beautiful work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great.